Well, I make that 9 o'clock. So is there anyone, Willie, that you see we might obviously be expecting and are not here yet?
I believe that most people are in the meeting at this moment in time, but we'll be taking a roll call very shortly. But I think everybody here is who I'm expecting to be here, officer-wise also.
Okay, well, I propose we just begin the meeting. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Tayside Valuation Joint Board. I have to remind the Joint Board that the public part of the meeting will be recorded, as Willie's already said, and placed on the Tayside Valuation Joint Board's website for public viewing. Members should keep microphones on mute throughout the meeting unless they are speaking. And I will now ask Willie to take us through the agenda, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Convener. So firstly, I'd just like to take a roll call for a minute, and I would ask if members would confirm they're present when I call their names. Convener.
Present.
Bailey Roberts.
Good morning, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Short.
I think Councillor Short has another engagement at the moment, Willie, and will be late.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll note that. Councillor Scullin.
Morning, I'm here.
Councillor Shears.
Morning, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And received apologies from Bailey McPherson, and I believe that Councillor Duncan is kindly attending as his substitute. Is Councillor Duncan present?
Yep, I'm here, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cowdy.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. And I believe I've got apologies from Councillor Durno, and that Councillor Nicholl may be attending as her substitute. Is Councillor Nicholl present? Okay, I'll mark them as absent. Councillor Duff.
Yes, I'm here. I'm having some problem with my controls. I can't get my camera on and I can't switch my microphone off. So I'll try and sort that out, but if you just bear with me.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCall.
I'm here.
Councillor Welch.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Anderson. You'll mark Councillor Anderson as absent at this moment in time. Councillor Smith.
Good morning, I'm here.
Councillor Cuthbert.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the roll call. I'm just wondering whether or not any members have any declaration of interest in the content of the agenda as it stands. Okay, there being no declarations, then it takes you on to the minute of the previous meeting of 18th of November, which is submitted for approval.
Okay, hopefully we've all had a chance to read the minutes. Are those agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Back to you, Willie, please.
Thank you. Takes you on to item 4, capital expenditure report. It's a report by the Treasurer and it's submitted for approval.
Thank you. Paul, are you going to introduce this for us?
Yeah, happy to do so, Convener. So this report outlines the board's requirements for capital expenditure for the period 25-26 to 27-28 and seeks approval to fund those through the 3 constituent councils in the normal way. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Just ask if people do have questions, could you just put them in the chat rather than raising a hand? It can sometimes be quite hard to see if there's a hand raised. So are there any questions though for Paul on this one? I see there is a question from Councillor McCall, is it?
That's me.
Yeah, that just says Councillor M.
Oh, does it? Well, there you go.
Yeah, thank you.
I wonder if you could expand a little bit on what IT equipment is being replaced.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
There's a bit of a lack of information here to explain what that is and what it is in the context of the ongoing IT capital costs. Thank you.
Sure, Councillor McCall, happy to do so. By and large, it's an IT equipment replacement programme, but if I can hand over to Mr. Ray, and he could maybe provide more detail in terms of the type of IT equipment that includes.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Yeah, it corresponds with our own internal 5-year capital rolling plan, and the main sort of ticket items are a rolling replacement of laptops, and certainly some apparatus in relation to the server rooms. We have our own servers at each of the regional offices. So those are the main things, and things like monitors as well, and various other associated items. Mobile phones, for example, also included.
You coming back in?
Okay, if I can come back in, I think it would have been helpful to have a bit of an explanation about that and what the overall capital estate is in terms of this equipment. I mean, I haven't gone back and checked against previous papers, but I seem to recall there was, we get this fairly periodically, and just to put a stark number there without any content, really, I don't think it serves a good enough purpose for us as a board. So I would like, convener, if it's possible, for our next board meeting to have an addendum paper to provide some detail around this.
Well, I have no issues with that. Is that something that we could be doing, Darryl and Paul? Yep. Both nodding, so that's fine. Are you okay then with that assurance, Councillor McCall? Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that then, is that approved? I think so.
Great.
Thank you. Back to you, please, Willie.
Okay, thank you. Takes on to item 5, revenue budget report. It's a joint report by the Assessor and the Treasurer, and you're asked to give the report.
Okay, Paul and Darryl, maybe if you both like to introduce this report.
Happy to kick off, convener. So this report sets out the cost of providing the board for the financial year 25-26, highlights those cost pressures that have been emerging during the year, or are expected to emerge next year, and sets out the requirements in terms of how these will be funded between the 3 authorities next year, and seeks approval to approve those requisitions. So happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Well, I see Councillor Cuthbert has a couple of questions, so I'll let him in first.
Okay, thank you. I asked some questions at the pre-agenda meeting about this paper, and asked that the links to the GAE and so on be put in. I was trying to reconcile just where it was coming from. I've got an explanation on Friday, but I don't quite understand fully what was being said. I noticed that paragraph 2C, which is the approval of the apportionment, has remained the same. But what I've noticed is that Perth and Kinross Council in this version has gone down by over £88,000 in terms of the requisition, whilst Angus has gone up by 8,000 and Dundee up by almost 80,000. You mentioned something about a national assumption for collection of council tax and non-domestic rates, Paul, but I don't really understand what that was about and what it was for, why it was there, why it was removed, and most importantly, is if we look back over the years, has this notional thing been put in there before?
Okay, is that the first question, Dave? Or
that's the first question, yeah. It's quite complicated.
Yep, no problem. Okay, Paul, if you want to come in.
So thank you, Councillor Cuthbert. In previous years, the report or the recommended distribution in the report has been adjusted to reflect there is no longer a separate GE indicator for the specific valuation of council tax or non-domestic rates. That indicator is now combined with the indicator for collection. Now, when those indicators were combined, there was previously a notional adjustment applied to the distribution to exclude any element that related to collection. So the proposal before you seeks to distribute the requisition purely on the basis of the GEE, the combined latest GEE for the valuation and collection of council tax and rates. To put that into perspective, the key basis in terms of distributing those is, in terms of rates, it's on the basis of the number of dwellings in each authority. And for council tax, it's the number of council tax dwellings that are on each authority. So essentially any amount of the expenditure associated with the board is distributed between the three authorities based on the proportionate number of dwellings that they have, whether or not that relates to council tax or non-domestic. Now, in previous years, there's been an adjustment recommended in the report to reflect that single GE no longer exists. And essentially moving forward, that's been corrected, and that reflects the adjustments that you've seen in the report today.
Okay, so I'm still a wee bit confused because, I mean, I don't really understand it, to be honest with you, because you're talking about GAE and then you're talking about the number of properties, but are the two the same? I mean, is that how GAE is distributed? Is it by the number of properties?
No. So apologies, Councillor Cuthbert. GAE is essentially the government's assessment of spending need, and it covers a broad range of different activities that all councils undertake. And in this relation, we were looking at GE indicators for the valuation of properties. Now, GE can be based on a number of different things, and if we think about the larger council services that are provided, they're largely on the basis of population, etc., and that's the key basis upon which things are distributed. When it comes to areas such as valuation, however, population isn't considered to be the key variable here, so that level of GE in terms of that assessment of spend that each authority should spend is distributed on the basis on the number of dwellings in each authority, and that's deemed a fair basis of doing it. So we essentially just pick up that proportion, if you like, of each authority and apply that to the net amount of budget that needs to be distributed.
Okay, I'm still not quite sure. Maybe I'll have this offline, but it's this notional assumption that was put in the original paper, which presumably would have been presented to the board. We'd have passed it, and PKC would have been paying £88,000 more than following this adjustment. But I don't really understand why it was there and why it's disappeared. So we can take this offline, but I am concerned about that. That's the first question, I think.
Okay. Well, I'll let you back in then with your second one, Dave.
Okay, yeah, it was to do with the increased cost of computer services, which seem to have gone up 56.1%. That seems to be a huge increase. I was wondering, where does the board get its service on the computers from, and why is there such a big increase in 1 year?
Paul?
Okay. Can I perhaps invite Darryl to give a bit further detail in terms of that particular question, and if we did.
Yep, sorry, Councillor Cuthbert, can you just repeat what you're after?
Yes, if you look at the increase in the cost, it's on page 11 of the report. Computer services are shown as going up by 56.1%. That's an increase of 35,574 in 1 year. So what I'm asking is, why is it such a big increase, and who provides the service?
Could maybe just come in first. Apologies, Darryl, Councillor Cuthbert. What I perhaps should have said is that the adjustment that's in the report, whilst it shows an increase to the budgeted figure that we're assuming, essentially what we've tried to do as part of this budget is bring the budget for next year more closer aligned to the figure that we're projecting to spend in the current year. So it's not necessarily an in-year increase, albeit what you're seeing within the report reflects the fact that we're taking into account any known cost pressures in the current year. But I'll let Darryl come in with some further detail if that helps.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I had a look at this following the convener meeting myself. So on paper, it does look like a sizable increase. In actual fact, it's a bit of a movement of items between budget lines that loosely fall into within the sort of kind of spectrum of IT. In terms of actual real terms increase, I've calculated that to circa around 11,000. with the remainder coming from various other budget lines. It was a bit of a reorganisation, I believe, Paul, in that respect. But increases are relative to increases in licence costs. So we've got Microsoft 365 licences, we've got various other IT health checks and server maintenance. These sort of items appear in our revenue IT budget.
And can you identify who actually provides the service?
I do have that on a line by line basis, but there's over about 50 entries.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Dave and Paul and Darrell there. Councillor McCall, you're looking to come in, please.
Yeah, my question really was on the GAE, so that's the right acronym. I think you've partially answered it. I think in the past, if I remember rightly, there was a segment on land tax valuation or land valuations, and is that no longer part of the consideration?
I suspect so, Councillor McCall. So previously what we had within the GE book, so the grant aided expenditure green book that's published annually by the government, was separate indicators for the valuation of properties and the collection in relation to council tax and non-domestic rates. So I think the valuation is perhaps what you're referring to as being that the lands taxation one. That no longer exists, and what we have is a combined indicator in the Green Book, and there's a link within the report to the Green Book. And what I'm saying is the basis for the combined indicator is the number of dwellings in each authority. So essentially we're using that as a basis to distribute the budget between the three authorities, which seems a reasonable and proportionate basis to do so.
Okay, I think again, like my earlier point, I mean, this is, maybe it's not substantive, but it's a change from before. So while I thought I understood how the apportionment worked before, because it's been fairly consistent with land valuations and non-domestic rate valuations, suddenly there's a new criteria that hasn't really been explained to us as board members, because we're not experts as Dave Cuthbert has said. So again, some sort of, and given a link to a Scottish Government website when we don't really know what we're looking at or what we're looking for isn't really that helpful. It might have been helpful to have included in there some comparison between the two and what the financial implications were, if any. So I think that's what's causing me quite a lot of confusion here.
Okay, apologies for that, Councillor McCall. I mean, just to confirm that the link to the book was added in at the request of other elected members, as they did feel it would be helpful.
And I've looked at the link, but then it just gives you an overview at the top, but doesn't actually explain what the difference is between the two. And I think that's something that would have been helpful for this board to have seen. This is what it meant before. This is what it means now. And that explanation is missing from the report, other than just the headline. And when you go through to the website, it then refers you to the finance circular, but that includes everything for all local government. So it's trying to find exactly what's the relevant section, and I couldn't find it easily anyway. So I just feel that the report's incomplete and it doesn't give me enough information. Yeah,
so certainly moving forward, happy to provide that additional extract or information that comes from the circular that details the basis in terms of how the GE's been distributed and the number of dwellings in each authority. So it's very clear to members in that regard and moving forward in terms of, I must say that level of detail has never been included before. I suppose when we looked at the distribution and realised, well, not realised, but acknowledged that the current GE indicators as they stand, I don't think, I'm not aware of any intention to separate the GEs and create a specific valuation one moving forward. So essentially what we're just applying is a straight uplift from the book in terms of how that's been allocated now, and no adjustment to that.
I just think the finance circular is a bit of a thing to navigate your way through. So even some signposting to perhaps more detail in the detail section in the finance or in the the circular would have been more helpful, I think, than just the front page.
Yeah, happy to do that, and we'll take it is a significant and document, and rightly so, but we'll take an extract from it in terms of what it specifically means for the budget moving forward.
Yeah, just even some sort of gap analysis. I mean, this is what it was before, this is what it is now. If there's no significant difference in how apportionment is done, that's great. But if there is, we just need to understand what those implications are and what's driving it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor McCone. I think, thank you, Paul. I think you have taken on board the concerns, and moving forward, if there's anything you can do to make it clearer for us, then I think that was certainly you're acknowledging that will be done. So Councillor Cuthbert, you were looking to come back in.
Yeah, I'm just curious. This is not the only joint valuation board, and I'm wondering, is it laid down in legislation how the board should be funded and how it should be apportioned and so on, or is it up to each board to decide its own mechanism?
I'm not aware that it's laid down in any legislation, Councillor Cuthbert. So in terms of distribution of the budget, my understanding is that would be a matter for the Treasurer to set out and recommend the basis on the board in which is deemed to be reasonable.
I don't know if Miss Moran would have any further information regarding that, just the legal side of it.
Yeah, we have the order in front of us, and it's there's a rating and valuation joint board Scotland order, and it's very generic, as Paul says, that the provision, it simply says the expenses incurred by a board shall be defrayed by its constituent authorities in such proportions as they may agree. So I think it's just to confirm what Paul is saying. It's a matter for the authorities to determine, but that's a very generic provision in the legislation.
Okay, thank you for that, Maureen. Are you okay with that, Councillor Cuthbert?
Yeah, that's fine. That clarifies that.
Okay, thank you very much. So with the proviso on the information that Paul will produce in future reports, is this one approved? Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Worrell, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Takes on to item 6. It's revenue monitoring for 8 months to 30th November. This item is for noting, and it's by the Treasurer.
Okay, Paul, we are making you work for your supper today. That's mixing my metaphors.
Thank you, convener. So, yeah, this report is a standard report. It's the latest monitoring report to the period end of November, and sets out where the current finances of the board is for this year. So happy to take any questions.
Okay, I'll just leave it a second to see if there are any questions for you, Paul. Okay, I do not see any. So is this report noted? Thank you very much. Back to you, please, Willie.
Okay, thank you. It takes on to item 7, the review of policy and procedure for dealing with concerns at work. So report by the assessor, and it's for approval.
Okay, I'll let you and Darrell to introduce this first, please.
Okay. Yeah, the whistleblowing policy, which has been in place from 2014, has now been reviewed following an audit report action. Minor changes have been made, which are summarised on page 23 of the papers, with a full track changes copy also included for ease of reference. Seeking approval of the revised policy today, with a proposal to implement a 3-year review cycle thereafter.
Okay, thank you. I see Councillor Duncan has a question.
Yeah, thanks, convener. It's just a general point which could potentially apply to any organisation. It's good to have a whistleblowing policy in place, and it's good that it's clear and that everybody should understand it. And my general question really is, there's mention of, like, for example, criminality. If I were an employee of any organisation, what would be the advice if I'm aware of something that I think is actually criminal? Should I be coming to a line manager, or should I not be going to the police directly?
Darrell, please.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be in practical terms down to the individual. So I think we'll try and cover that within the policy in terms of criminal offence. and I think we do acknowledge in the policy that we would try to honour confidentiality, but there will be things which and effectively trump that, where a criminal issue would be the case that would be duty bound to not only take on the concerns internally, but actually take it to the higher level. So if we were made aware and criminality was involved, then I think the board or the officers would be duty bound to report that, and I think that that's contained within the procedure, that we can't always guarantee confidentiality on that basis, because we might need to provide other authorities additional information.
I think, to be honest, that's really what I was driving at, that it's important that people do understand that, confidentiality, although admirable, simply can't be guaranteed in all such cases.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Duncan, and for your answer there, Darrell. I see no further questions, so is that agreed? Thank you. Moving on then, please, Willie.
Yeah, thanks very much, Convener. Takes you on to item 8, programme of meetings. As the joint board will know, the programme meetings was agreed at the last meeting, and these meetings are currently held remotely. And should it be agreed that these meetings are being held in a hybrid format, the option is for this to commence at the June meeting of the joint board, with meetings being held in host authority, the convener of Tayside Contracts Joint Committee, and that the venue rotates on an annual basis at the June meeting when appointment is made to that position of convener. So on that basis, meetings from June 2025 would be held in the Town and County Hall, the Cross, Orford, and also held remotely accordingly, and that's for approval.
Okay, I'll open it up for questions first of all, if there were any, because what I will do is just outline what I understand our position to be. So, obviously the dates have been previously agreed, and so the option is whether we continue fully remotely or whether we go hybrid. Now, if we went hybrid, Angus would be hosting from June 2025, and then when the Tayside Valuation Board changes as well, if I understand this right, Willie, we would then move into the hosting would be done by the Chair's Council. So really what we're looking to do really is decide whether we want to go hybrid or remain fully remote with Angus hosting, because they're currently convening the Tayside Contracts Board. So with that position, I'll open up to see what people's views are. In my position, if anyone is interested, I think I would be I'm quite happy to continue remotely. Now, I do not know the authority seat that most of you are sitting on, so I don't know the travel that might be involved for some of you if we went to a hybrid, if we were asking people to turn up. So obviously there would still, I would imagine, be other councillors quite happy to be doing this remote, maybe some officers doing this remote as well. So it's just whether, though there is a strong enough feeling from others that they do wish to be going to an in-person meeting in Angus, and then that would take us to a hybrid position. And really what I'm doing is opening up to you as members to see where the majority view is. Some of you will do it remotely regardless, but it's whether you want to be able to do it in person as well. So I'm going to let in Councillor McCall first of all.
Thank you, Convener. I'm all in favour of a hybrid meeting. I think some of the synergy, having attended meetings in person in the past, I think some of the synergy, particularly between board members, is lost by a purely hybrid meeting. And I would welcome the opportunity to have hybrid meetings in the future. Okay,
thank you. Councillor Short, I see you are now in the meeting, so maybe Mr. Warren, you could note that for the minute. Councillor Short.
Yeah, sorry, I have been in the meeting, but it was tech, which is part of the problem. And me being the gregarious person that I am, I listened to a lot of the answers that were provided from the questions that we had predominantly from Councillor McCall and Councillor Cuthbert. And I believe if we were in a hybrid version of the meeting, Darryl's ears would be burning because I would be asking half a dozen of the questions from him before we even got in the meeting. My only reservation is, being an active traveller, if I was trying to hike myself up to Forfar, which is presumably where it'll be, is the expense of a day trip to Forfar covered in the committee, or is that based purely with our own councils to cover that? Because as I say, every penny's a prisoner, as we know, so I can't be that gallus to join up to Forfar. I've got to get my bridey.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Short. Could I don't know who would address the point there of expenses, which I presume they would just be claimed through your own constituent councils. I don't know if someone could clarify.
I can come in there if you want. Like I said, having been I've been on this board since 2017. Expenses are claimed by each council, but it is not unusual for fellow board members to travel together.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McCall. Councillor Shears.
Yeah, thank you. I back your position, convener. I think staying remote is the way to go. My reason for it is, if we look at the cost manpower it would take a council to have a meeting room set up, systems all ready to go, IT support on hand, and then we get 2 or 3 members turn up, it's not really the best use of the hosting council's resources. So I would push towards staying remote. And I didn't have a question, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Shears. And I think you're agreeing with that position, Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, just briefly, convener, just to pick up on what Pete has said. There are advantages to attending face-to-face. I entirely understand that. But in this day and age when we're trying to, make every penny a prisoner and have people not make unnecessary journeys, I would have to be really convinced that, in face would enable us to accomplish something that we've not been doing quite successfully thus far.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Cuthbert, and then it's Councillor Duff after that.
Thank you, convener. Yeah, the thing about this is it all interlocks with Tayside contracts. My understanding is that Tayside contracts will be commencing hybrid working from June next year, and the first meeting is apparently going to be in Forfar. The issue with June this year, sorry, yeah. The issue is that if I was to go up there, I mean, you don't have to travel, obviously, you can still take part remotely, and it's a matter of choice whether you come and take part in the meeting. But the issue I would raise is that if I travel up to Forfar and you make these online only, then there's a question of me trying to get a connection that's good enough to be able to connect when I'm actually in Forfar for the hybrid meeting of Tayside contracts, if that makes sense. So I think it's a complicated thing, but it does interlock with the Tayside contracts thing. And my preference would be that we made both hybrids so that both were held from the same place, so that I didn't need to try and find a network connection, etc. That's me.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Councillor Duff.
Yeah, thanks, convener. Yes, I would support the hybrid option, and I think I might not do that if it was only one meeting, but the fact that it's 2 meetings back to back means that if you are travelling, you're travelling for potentially 2.5 hours worth of meetings rather than 1 meeting. So I think there's benefits in in-person meetings. We've got to leave the option people to attend remotely. I think the hybrid thing, which we've done for the last couple of years from Forfar, works perfectly well.
Okay, thank you for those comments. I mean, certainly there is both positions, to go hybrid or to stay remote, and obviously those who wish to do remote can still do so with the hybrid option. So I don't want to have to for us to have to go to a vote. I think the position is, as I see it, if it went hybrid, those who still want to do it remotely will do it remotely, and those who wish to do it hybrid we'll do it hybrid. I mean, taking on board the points about costs for the hosting council, well, I suppose they will be concerns for that hosting council. So unless there is unless people feel we should have a vote and a division on this, I would suggest that we can go hybrid if the board is so minded, with that caveat that, of course, anyone who wishes to do it remotely will still do so. And I think, taking on the point that Councillor Short made, as well as the point that I've made, I do not know where some of you other councillors will be travelling from, how onerous that will be to get to a meeting at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. I think it would be quite onerous for some, given the geographical locations. But if anyone is more strongly minded that we should be taking a vote on whether we go hybrid or whether we remain fully remote, then I am happy to do so. But as I say, folk will go remote whether it's hybrid or not. So I'll just take a couple of comments if people feel strongly that, yeah, we should divide, and we'll see, and just have a firm view. Or if not, that would be my suggestion. And nobody seems to be that strongly minded. Although Councillor Nicol, looking to come in.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just not sure what you're suggesting.
Well,
you're suggesting that we agree to a hybrid solution.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Because that will still, those who wish to be remote will still be remote in a hybrid situation. So, Councillor Short.
Yeah, I just want to bring to everybody's attention the fact that we are effectively leaders of our community, and we continue to talk about the fact that our high streets are on the wane. And I was being a bit sort of tongue-in-cheek about my bridie, but I'm pretty sure that places like Forfar, or when we're in Perth or we're in Dundee, we cannot talk about the demise of the high street if we're not leading by example. And if we continue to hide away in little boxes and not use our purchasing power, then, on our own heads be it, which is the Joint Valuation Board. Not going to be a lot of valuation if we've got high streets that are full of empty shops, because there'll be nothing to value. We've taken away the value because we've become black mirrored, if dare I say it. So I am 100% of the opinion that we need to be hybrid, and come hell or high water, the first meeting that we have in June, I will be expecting Darryl to be greeting me with a bridie, because I'll have spent my money on the bus getting there, and I'll be up at the crack of dawn to do it, but I will be there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Short. Councillor Cuthbert.
Yeah, just to say, I mean, I think I totally agree with you, Convener. I think what I would say is that we need to make sure that we're connected with Tayside contracts. So we wouldn't start hybrid meetings until June this year. And it would coordinate with the Tayside contracts convening, if you like.
Yeah, I think that is noted. So the decision has been made from June 2025 then that we will be hybrid. Is that noted? Thank you. Back to you, please, Willie.
Thank you very much. Okay, following on from the decision there, item 9 is dated the next meeting. The next meeting of the Joint Board will be held in the Town and County Hall across Forfar, and also remotely on Monday, the 16th of June 2025 at 9 AM. That's all the business.
Okay, so that is noted, Willie. Thank you for your help today. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance and the answers. Darryl, Paul, Maureen, thank you, and have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Convener.
Thank you.